Hello, everyone. You are welcome to the Joseph Mandate. The Joseph Mandate is an initiative of the Prophetic Seers Tribe. Cohort 2 has gathered us here, the graduating class of 2024. Prophetic Seers, men of God, women of God, they've gathered us here to let us know that in the coming days, it is important that we all learn how to farm. And we are here for it. I am here for it, and I'm sure you are here for it too. Now, we are all going to be learning micro farming. That if you have a space in your home, you have a little space in your backyard or at the front of your house or your balcony, just any little space that you can find that you can actually farm on it. We are being told that in fact, if what you have is concrete, it is fine. It is absolutely fine for you to have baskets and to have sacks and to have pots and different containers to start to farm in. And the one of the biggest deals that has happened this season is that the moment we got this word and we started to brood upon it and pray over it and prayerfully prepare towards it, we started discovering that there are so many more people that the Lord has given this idea that this is one of the ways forward in the coming days. And so it is with great excitement that we continued to plan and to even talk about it more as the days rolled by. And we have finally come to today where we're having this training session, this event, which is the Joseph Mandate. And I am completely blown away. I'm happy to have you in class. I welcome you. I welcome you because you think you're here to learn to farm, but you are here to be empowered. You are here so that God can breathe upon you and He can use farming as a template for, creativity in every area of your life. Really, because when I started to say farming, Lord, what do you mean farming? What is one plant, two plant? What difference is it going to make? How is this going to work? And it started to let me see that it is not just the farming itself, it is the fact that He is putting creativity back in the hands of His people. And He is teaching us how to, go out for yourself and make a way and be a creator in your own right. Be a creator in your own way and stop hoping that help is going to come from outside. That within each and every one of us, He has put the resources that we need to be able to break through on the other side. And I know that from time to time it may sound like, or you may have thought or heard that farming is just for poor people. No, it is not the case. It is not the case. This initiative is for every one of us, regardless of where you are in your journey, regardless of how wealthy you are, regardless of how much you know you need, that God will use this tool to help each and every one of us to become co-creators with Him. Because no matter where you're at in your journey, there is always more. And there's the greater glory that God has in mind for you. And we can't say that we have arrived until we are touching that grace and until we're becoming that person that God had in mind for you to become. And so whether you're on the first level of your success story, whether you have not even you don't feel like you have started, whether you have started, you're midway, whether you are almost there, just know that as you obey and start this initiative with us and you start to plant, that God is going to start to use the farming as a tool to teach you creativity in every area of life. A few weeks ago, actually a couple of months ago, about 8 weeks ago, I just went into my backyard and I saw that right there in between the grass, you know, a seed or two of beans had sprouted up. And I said, how did this get here? What's happening? As I was talking about it, I'm wondering, My second son comes into the garden and starts excitedly jumping around. And he said, "Oh, my seed is growing. My seed has sprouted. Oh, I'm so excited." And he gave it a name and he called it his baby and all of that. And he started to water it every day. And if you have planted before or you know about beans, you know that they are not just going to grow straight and not infringe on their neighbor's property, for lack of a better way to put it. And so for the first few days, I started to say, okay, maybe this beans is not going to be a bother. We're just going to let it grow and let the boy have a good time. But as the days rolled by, I saw that the beans was not growing upwards. As is typical of beans, it started to grow sideways and to spread and to grow vines. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be a problem because it is growing in all directions and it is going to deface my grass. Like grass is, I don't know, you know how it is that you have freshly mown grass, and for aesthetics, it's beautiful. And then a beans is growing right in the middle of that. And so I started to say, oh my goodness, I'm going to break this boy's heart because I'm going to have to uproot this thing. And I could not bring myself to uproot it. I just couldn't. And one of the first lessons that the Lord taught me from that is that sometimes there are things that are good, they're not bad in themselves, but if something is encroaching on your territory and you don't need it to be there, then you're going to have to be brutal with it and you're going to uproot it. You're going to have to uproot it. I'm telling you, for weeks I knew that I should uproot these beans and I didn't. And it kept growing and spreading and becoming thicker. It was almost like physically scary for me, like, what is going on? And I had to call my mom and I said, this beans is growing. I don't know what to do about it. I don't want it there. And she says, oh, if it's beans, it's going to grow. It's either you put stakes in the ground and twirl the vines of it around it so that it can grow around those stakes. But I'm like, this is right in the middle of my backyard. Should I transplant it? What should I do? I didn't have any plans to plant a garden or to have anything other than freshly mown grass at all times in that space. And so the day that I eventually pulled out this beans, uh, God actually used it to teach me about the state of our hearts and how sometimes we think it is kindness, we think we're being nice, and we don't take the actions that we need to take, and then our territories are encroached upon, and we are unhappy. But this is something that you could have uprooted when it was still very small. And of course, the owner of the beans came back and cried and wept for his beans. And I had to apologize and I said to him, I'm so sorry. I can get you a pot and you can plant something else that is not going to encroach. And that story taught me something. And from the moment that we also received the impression that we should announce farming as one of the saving graces in the days to come, I there's something that I've been working on, and for all the seers in the school, the graduating cohort, we've been working on instant obedience. We've been working on not just being seers, but also being doers. And because I mean, if you see and somebody else, like I've always tell them, if you see and somebody else does it, and you're supposed to also do it, but you just see and you move along, guess what? The person that is going to get the reward of having done it is the person that does it. And so we're all learning this obedience journey, instant action journey. We're all on it together. And so the moment that we started to perceive that this is where the Father's heart is inclining, I started to do my research and to say, okay, what do I do next? What's and I discovered a huge body of knowledge, like there are different types of soil. There's a kind of soil you can plant with. Oh, you're going to need a raised bed. Or do you want to plant in pots? Do you want to do hydroponic planting? And there's all of this information. And it is huge. And the teachers that we're having today, they are going to break it all down to you. because I am not a farmer. I'm also a new farmer. I'm starting myself, and I'm just starting with a small patch of space in my backyard. But I want to encourage you. Everything you're going to learn today, I want to encourage you to dig into it. I want you to pay attention to it. I want you to give it all of the seriousness that it deserves, because it is literally going to be a life-saving activity. Is going to help you. And I want you, as you are in this class, to start to ask yourself, what can I immediately do? In fact, as you are in class, start imagining the pots you want to use to plant. Start thinking through about the patch of ground you're planting on, about the which of the seeds are you starting with. You know, someone said, if you want to know what to plant, think about what are the first 5 things that you eat. So what do you eat? You should plant what you eat. You should plant what you eat, don't you think so? So plant what you know that you're going to eat. Vegetables are so easy, I've been told, to grow. And so you can start with that. And we're going to learn how to plant a couple of vegetables today. I want you to pay attention. We brought the best of the best teachers to come teach us today. Okay? So also, we're not just doing this because we want to put food on the table. You know, and I know that we're all responsible for the environment, and we have been told that when you plant, when there's enough vegetation, then the air is purified. And I could go into all of the processes of photosynthesis and how that happens, but just know that every time you plant a tree, every time you plant something, the environment stands to benefit from it. And so that makes us great custodians of that which the Lord has placed in our hands, which is our environment, which is our soil, and which is our seeds, okay? Seed time, harvest time. When you put your seed in the ground, you're going to have harvest time. And by the time you plant the first one and you see how without your input, with minimal input, don't let me say without your input, because the farmers are going to disagree with me and say, oh, you have to water it. Oh, you definitely have to protect it. Give it enough sunlight, give it this. But are you the one giving it the sunlight, you know? So when I say without your input, I mean rain is going to fall. Depending on the season you are in, the sun is going to shine. Once you can force yourself and push yourself to the point of putting that seed in the ground, and then you watch the elements do their part. And some of the lessons that the Lord has brought out for me in that process is also the fact that you cannot say, oh, I will do everything myself. You cannot say, oh, I have no need of God. You can say, I have no need of support systems. You can say, oh, nobody is there to help me. You try and do your part. When you do your part, you will see that all of your support system, they will be formed around you. Because someone can be looking at their patch of land and saying, I'm just going to not plant, because who is going to help me water it? Who is going to help me expose it to sunlight? What if the sun does not shine in my neck of town and all of that? But does that even make sense? The rain is going to fall. The rain is going to fall, the sun is going to shine. And compare that person to someone that says, I'm going to put my seed in the ground and I'm going to trust God for it, that it will grow. And then the person puts their seed in the soil. And before you know it, the seed starts to grow. The elements start to agree with the person and everything is fine. And when harvest time comes, they have something to harvest because they put their seed in the ground. What is your seed? Aside from, of course, the physical vegetable seeds that we're all going to be planting today, what are your seeds? What seeds has God put in your hands when it comes to your career, when it comes to your business, when it comes to the ministry is put in your hands? What are the seeds that are in your hands? If you can identify your seed, you can identify your soil, you should be bold enough, courageous enough. You should be able to silence the voice of naysayers. You should be able to silence the inner voice that keeps telling you it's not going to be worth it, and you should go ahead and put that seed in the ground, because when you do that, then heaven is going to back you up and it will grow. There is seed time, there is harvest time. When seed time, you don't utilize seed time, harvest time is highly unlikely to happen. Let me tell you one story that keeps keeping me awake at night. I was having this lovely discussion with my mom, and I think it was even almost a year ago, about maybe 7 months or 8 months ago. I'm not so good with those kind of dates. And so I said, things are becoming tougher in the nation. And I know what's happening in Lagos. I think it was at that time that in Lagos you were buying like maybe two pieces of tomatoes for 500 naira. And I said, I don't know what's happening in the hinterlands, what's happening in the rural areas. And she said, what is happening is actually that in non farming communities, people would pluck random leaves and throw them on the ground and see if the chickens will peck on them. And then when the chickens peck on them and they don't die, people would actually cook those leaves and eat. The situation is critical. The situation is worse than we all think. Things are getting worse. That you're not exposed to it or that it has not reached your side does not reduce the fact or diminish the fact that it's happening. We have to take action. And so if you're saying, look, I love the aesthetics of my space, I do not plan to have a farm. I have this huge backyard, but I do not plan to have a farm. I implore you to think twice. I implore you to have a rethink, because even if you're not the one that is going to eat that food, you can distribute it to the people who need it, and they will bless you for it and they will thank you for it. So, this is the time for all hands to be on deck and for everyone to sit up and be involved. That person that is so wise and capable as to go and pluck a random leaf in the forest and throw it down to the chicken, what is mismatched in their minds? What manner of thinking and thought processing do they have that stopped them from saying, if I can just get 50 naira and I can buy, I don't know if it's 50 naira, the farmers will tell us, and I can buy vegetable seeds, okra seeds, if I can just get someone to give me a handful of vegetable seeds, I can sprinkle it on the sand patch near my house, beside my house, and in 30 days, in 40 days, I can have vegetables to eat. So, how did we come from being creators to people who feel like they have no alternatives, they have no options other than to be fed, other than to be given, or other than to scavenge? We are created to be creators. Everything that God did in Genesis 1, Genesis 2, everything that He did in the beginning of time, saying, let there be, let there be. He created us and gave us a voice for you to speak your future into existence, for you to speak life into your situation, and for your hands to get to work. When He created that garden and He put Adam there, He said to him to be fruitful and multiply and to replenish the earth. And so that's who we're meant to be. That's who we're meant to be. And as you lay your hands on the plow and you start to think and to work towards and to actually start to farm, God is going to recreate an Eden environment for your life and for your future, for your seasons and for your undertakings, for the work of your hands. You will be inventing and creating an atmosphere of Eden in your life and in your space. And the more of us that actually start to do this, then it becomes a movement and everyone can create Eden. Am I saying that this is the only solution and this is if you don't do this, you're not going to have breakthrough? No. We are just saying that this is what we've received and we are compelled to share it with as many people as are willing to listen. When Joseph was interpreting that dream, he was not aware that he would be the one to operate it, to run it. And if he didn't actually take up the challenge and start to run it and to say, okay, this is the interpretation. And if we're going to put, um, strategies in effect so that farming will not affect this nation, then we are going to have to maximize the 7 years of plenty. And this is how we're going to maximize it. If he didn't do that, forget the fact that that dream came to Pharaoh. Forget the fact that the interpretation of it came to Joseph. Everybody would have still starved and left the country and, died. And whatever happens when there is famine. Okay? So God is inviting us to obedience. God is inviting us to action taken. God is inviting us. If you even look at some of the initiatives that are topmost on the in the world view, you would see that, well, I think one of the SDGs is to end poverty, eradicate hunger, eradicate hunger. you know so this is not even just a micro initiative that you're doing in your corner. This is actually at the top of mind for world leaders and for strategists that are sitting together and saying, what does the world need? And so if you in your corner, me in my corner, we start to contribute our part to it, then we're nation builders. And that is it. And that is what it is. You don't have to wait until you get to the boardrooms, or until you can finally take a decision on behalf of the country. Start with what you have, start where you are, and start to make a difference. And then your difference will count. Okay? And for some of us, it's going to extend beyond microfarming. We're going to be learning how to export, because at some point, if you're producing, you can export what you're selling. We have a huge diasporan community. And because food is a language, a universal language, you will find that no matter how people say, oh, I left the country, I'm not coming back, they still crave the foods that they grew up around. And so we're going to be learning all of these things, but we're going to take it a step at a time. Today, let's even learn how to start farming. So are you with me? Are we together? Are we together? Thank you. I'm glad that we're together. I'm glad that we're doing this together. As you do this, you're going to learn to take ownership for your life, for your future, for the people that are committed into your hands. You're going to take responsibility, but you're also going to learn the concept of shared responsibility and the ability to believe that if I do my part, God is going to come true for me. You are also going to have faith arise within you again, and knowing that, look, I can expect a yield. If I put my plow in the ground, if I put my seed in the ground, it's fine to have faith. It's okay to have faith and to expect a yield. Okay? And you're going to learn how to protect your territory and how to shield what has been given to you for maximum impact, for maximum benefits. Okay? So you're going to be weeding your garden, okay? And as you do that, it's going to be reminding you of all the different kinds of weeds that are in your space, in your mental space, in your physical space, and how you need to weed them, okay? So trust for everything that the Father is releasing in this season as you embark on this creative project. And I know that you will have testimonies, you will have growth stories, and you will have profitability stories. And even if you're like, okay, I just want to eat healthier, then you are in the right room, okay? And I think that's about it for me. And I'm going to be introducing each of our speakers and telling you these ones, you have not heard them like this before. And of course, I had to bring this person to you because I grew up watching her do everything that suddenly seems like, wow, you mean this is a solution? I grew up watching her do it. My mom, She had all sorts of plans. She had all sorts of initiative, and she made sure that her children learned how to do everything and anything that she was doing. She was a nurse, so she's a retired nurse, a full-time minister of the gospel, and she was also many things. Now, when my mom is passionate about a thing, everybody in the house has to embrace it. So she would have seasons for different plants. There was a season when it was ugu that was the biggest deal. And she planted loads of it in the front of the house, on the balcony, uh, the top floor of the building. And she had them in pots. And every Sunday afternoon, we would actually go and cut fresh vegetables and make a goosey, and we would have pounded yam. And of course, randomly during the day, she would also say, "Oh, go pluck me some vegetables." And we'll pluck the ugu, squeeze out the water. Everybody will drink. You have to drink, okay? And the leaves of it will be used to cook. And so I grew up eating fresh vegetables, even though it wasn't like there was any major farm around us. She grew aloe vera. When we were in the season of aloe vera, she would, oh, use aloe vera on your skin. So you will use it, rub it on your skin when you're done bathing. If you have a scratch, you will use it. If your hair is not growing well, you will use it. If your hair is growing well, you will use it. And it's been different season of different things. And so it was not out of place when we started as children to say, oh, we want to plant corn in the half-built house that was some, just a stone throw away from my house, and we did that, and it was just different things I grew up around, and it's in retrospect that I'm like, oh, this woman knew something that many people didn't know. She knew that there was qualities that each plant carried that could do different things in the body, and she maximized it. Even when we were all grown and gone, and she would come from where she stays to come take care of my children when I gave birth, and even when she was coming to visit, she would bring sacks. I'm talking about really huge sacks of plantains, of sweet potatoes, even yam, things that were planted in her farm, because at some point she then had like a farm, and she would bring them, and I'm like, wow, like, mom, you didn't buy this, they grew up in your farm, they were you farmed and grew this. And she'd be like, oh yes, soursop, different fruits, vegetables, and all of that. Even moringa, it was from her I first heard of the qualities of moringa, and honestly, I tried it and I became converted. The leaves, the fruit, the leaves, the seeds, everything. And today is not the day for us to start talking about all of those qualities and all of that. Today is to convince ourselves that we are in the right room. And so my mom is going to be having a talk with you. Yes, we're bringing her, and she's going to be having a conversation with you, just a short conversation, just to convince you. And then we have Farmer Sam, and he is going to be teaching us the practicals of planting, of what to plant, how to plant it, when to plant it, how to water it. So I want you to look forward to Farmer Sam's session. I know those people, I'm telling you, have bought my fresh chicken breast, chicken laps from him for many years. And when I call and I say, oh, I need chicken, he says, oh, how many kgs? Okay, I'll slaughter them today and have them delivered later in the day. So it was fresh, fresh produce. And he would farm, yams, he would farm different things. And I'm like, wow, this is someone that is a graduate and is the best in his field, so intelligent. So this wasn't oh, I didn't have anything to do. It's a passion, and his passion is going to be shining through. When he talks to us today, I want you to learn. I want you to learn from him. I want you to soak up the knowledge. And of course, we have Adekemi, the queen of agribusiness herself. She's coming up to teach us that beyond microfarming for your own table, for your farm to table, you can actually do a lot with this. So there's something called agribusiness. And I'm not even going to say so much about that so that she can come and tell you all about it. But look forward to having your interest sparked in this endeavor. Look forward to seeing all of the possibilities that are going to emerge out of this session, and promise yourself that you are going to do what it takes. You're going to put in your effort and you're going to see your results. Promise yourself that you're going to do this and you're going to do it well. And I know that God is going to carry you and is going to help you. And everything that He promised is going to come through as you obey. All right? So I'm going to get out of your faces and unleash our speakers on you. Welcome them with me. Okay? Keep engaging in the comment section. Keep encouraging them. And if you have questions, write them down and we will take all the questions and send in your answers. All right? Thank you so much for showing up. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for taking this step of obedience. If you know anyone that should be in class, send the link to them right away. They're still going to have to give us their registration details because there's a lot that we're going to be sending your way right after class. And we want to be able to put seats in the hands of anyone that says, I don't have seat and I don't know how to get it, or I can't afford it. We want to put your first set of seats in your hands. And so, if you know anyone that should be in class, send the link to them now and let's continue to roll, okay? This is Coach B. My name is Bukola Ogunwale. Okay, I'm the convener of the Prophetic Seers Tribe. And Joseph Mandate is an initiative of the tribe. And we know that God is going to use this to kickstart something awesome in your life. In Jesus' name.
Hello, my people. I want to share some things with you that I know can help you. If you dream it, you can do it. Because of the situation in the country, I think you can do some things that will help us save at least few money for other things. If you have a small garden at your backyard, you can plant some things. So instead of using money for them, then the money that you are going to use for this can be saved for other things, like planting tomatoes, ewedu, pepper, and some other things. And these things seems as it's not costly, but it's costly now. Like buying four tomatoes like this, like 200, 300. If you have at your backyard, you can use that. You save the money for other things. So how do you do that? Small land, garden can be useful for it. Small land, small pots. You can use pots that you've not been using again in your kitchen. You can use them, put soil on inside, and plant some things like ewedu. Spread it on the soil, then water them. Water every day, but not too much so that it will not soak. So that by the end of, say, 3-4 weeks, you start seeing some things, beautiful green leaves that will be useful for you, for your family. Soup has come. You can plant tomatoes. if you plant tomatoes, you have to transplant. Spread the tomato on the soil, either in a pot or on the ground. Till the ground, bring the soil up. If you have somewhere you can get manure, is okay. If you don't have humus somewhere, put some mix with the soil and plant. Then when, like about a week, 2 weeks, you transplant and start, but make sure that if it's tomato, you transplant deeply because of the weight it's carrying when it's bringing fruits, so that it will be able to carry the fruits. Then you can support also. If the fruit are many, you can support so that it will not just fall down, so that you'll be able to have the good thing that you want. You can plant pepper also and transplant. Many of these things you transplant, you have another place that you transplant them so that it brings you more fruits that you need. When you transplant, let it be scattered. Do not let it be so close to each other, so that when it brings in the stem, everything will be okay for you. The Lord will help you as you are hearing this. When you are transplanting, dig the ground, like 2 to 3 inch to transplant, so that it will be able to contain, or it will be able to hold what is bringing up for you. Also, if you are transplanting, especially tomatoes, let it, give it space. No one is coming, it's bringing fruit, it's spread, so that you give it space, because we want to do these things and also have a good result of what we are doing. The Bible is even telling us the hand of the diligent shall be a rule. So if our hands are diligent, then we have to also bring in wisdom into it. So when we are doing it, we have to be serious about it, because we don't have to be slothful. The slothful man sees things, and he will say, you know what the slothful man says? There's a lion on the street, oh, I cannot go. And people are walking on the streets. So a hand that doesn't work should not eat. But we are working. Yes, but the money is not okay. So what can we do now? We want to find a way of helping ourselves. Planting a wedu at our backyard. If you want to eat efo, tete, soko yokoto, ajefawo, all this you can plant at your garden. You can plant them in a pot. You can plant in an unused pots that you are no more using in the house, in the kitchen. Bring them out, put soil on inside, and plant something. Plant efo, plant vegetable. Water every morning, even alternate days. Sometimes intervals of 3 days. It will still go well with it. By the 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you have efo at your garden that we will be eating. So all these things will help us if we try to do them. We should not just say things are hard, we're not going to eat. We complain to the government. Are they hearing us? And if they are hearing us and they are doing something we don't know to help us, we can also help ourselves. You see, the Bible even tells us the slothful man said there is a lion. There isn't any lion in the street, but because it's not ready to go out, it's not ready. Some of us, we know these things. We are not ready, but let us rise up now. Let there be zeal in our life. We should not, we have time. Some of us will say, I don't have time. We have time. I was formerly a nurse. I do this. I plant. I have gardens. I plant many things in my gardens. So, all this, even I have goats and all this, I read them. So, we should find something during this time. As the door turneth, that's the Bible says, as the door turneth upon his hinges, so do the slothful man in his bed. Some like sleep, they sleep too much. let's find some time now, at this time, do something that will help us to rise and beat this austerity or anything that is coming. It's not only in this country, everywhere in the world. Things are so hard. But for people that are wise, that are not wasters, they make ends of things. They know the method of doing things. They know the method. If you're a woman, even if you're a man, and you have all this in your garden, you have pepper, you have tomatoes, you have onion, you plant onion. You just cut the head of the onion, put it inside the soil, cover it with something that is transparent, and start pouring water, watering it every day, watering every day. At the end of the week, you will see the grains start coming up. You'll be cutting it very, very rich. When you cut, it comes up again. So all these things are very good for us if we can do it. I advise you, I encourage you also to start doing something that will help you save some money for another thing. God help you.
Hi everyone, I am Farmer Samuel. I'm here to encourage you and give you some tips on how to start your own little garden, how to start farming your own food. Yes, overall, it's good for your mental well-being, it's good for your emotional well-being, it's good for your physical well-being. As you all know, the state of the economy in Nigeria, having to know what goes into your tummy, what goes into your body is has its own tremendous benefit. All right, let me show you around the farm and show you how to plant. Okay, so as you can see, I have raised beds here. You don't necessarily have to do this. You can start with a sack, as little as a sack, buckets, discarded plastic, anything you can that can hold the soil is good enough. All you just need is a little space and you can get loads of food from that little space. Right, on this patch of land, I have, as you can see, plantain. I have the leafy green, the shoko, that's the popular name. If you look around over there, I have ewedu, that's the jute mallow. I have maize. I have some little sugarcane. But mainly on this patch of land, I have leafy greens. That's really what I have on this patch of land. But so I will be showing you how you can plant these and the common ones, the jute mallow, the F4 shoko, the F4 tete, the ewedu, and ugu, the fluted pumpkin. All right, here we have the jute leaf, the jute mallow, ewedu, popularly known as ewedu in Nigeria here. Egyptian spinach is still the same thing. We have the F4 shoko here, the Lagos spinach. We have the fluted pumpkin, ugu. Then we have the F4 tete, the African spinach. Then we have the okra here. This F4 shoko right here has different varieties. You have the one with the green leaf, the purple leaf. Depends on the variety you look out for. So one thing about these seeds, you see this okra, when you want to plant, when you go to the market, you can ask for the short variety. because you don't want to get in, especially in your sack, you don't want to get in too tall. So I'll be showing you how to plant right away, and I'll give you some tips as I go on about the planting. Okay, so as you can see, what I have here is the ugu, the fluted pumpkin. This is what the seed looks like. It has this pointy edge here. So when you plant, this is the point where you put. This will face the ground. This is where you put in the soil. Okay, so one thing you should know is it's characterized with this hard back. So this the seed itself, it's encased in this covering. Okay, so an advanced tip is you can actually get 2 to 4 plants from this, but that's for some other time. But from this now, I want to plant. So what you do is, as you can see, this soil I have here has a lot of organic matter in it. It's already amended. Even though I have sandy soil around me, but I have organic matter in it, so it has some decomposed poultry manure in it, some other decomposed organic material in it. That's why you can see this, and the moisture content is okay. So now you just create an opening like this, hole like this, and remember this tip is going inside, so you cover lightly. You should have germination in 10 to 14 days. That's about 2 weeks. So this is what you do after you plant. You water. So I'm going to get my can. You just water once, and you don't water this until germination. You just keep in a cool, dry place. Don't keep it out in the sun. Just keep it somewhere that is protected from direct sunlight. You don't water this until after germination. Or else it would get rotten. So that's all. 14 days thereabout, you should see the ugu plant coming up. You must have seen the ugu plant must have sprouted. All right, we have the okra seed here. As you can see, this is what it looks like. This okra seed gets to maturity. The DTM, that's the day to maturity of this okra seed, is about 50 days from planting, and you can harvest as early as 45 days. Germination is usually around 5 to 10 days. That is, if I plant this in 5 to 10 days, I should get the sprout. I should get a good germination. So what I do is you can soak overnight. You can soak overnight and air dry afterwards. So you soak overnight, you air dry. Remember, don't put in direct sunlight, just air dry it. You create a hole. And in every hole you can just put 2 seeds. As 2 seeds in the hole. It doesn't matter what direction, even though it has a small distinct feature on the seed, but it doesn't matter. Just drop 2 seeds in every hole. 2 seeds in every hole. But for a rule of thumb is in every sack bag. As you can see, I'm using a sack bag now. In every sack bag, you'd have nothing less than 3-4 seeds in a sack bag. This particular variety is the dwarf variety. It's usually less than 5 feet. It's usually less than 5 feet in the height, and just like I have said, you would harvest in 45 days. you would harvest in 45 days. Now, one thing I should mention to you is this okra does not do well with transplants. So you would get where you want it to stay for the rest of the plant's life, a permanent. So this will be the permanent home for this okra plant. Good. So after you plant, you just cover lightly, and you water it after you're done. Where's my watering? So you water it after you're done, and that is it. You should get a proper germination in 5 to 10 days. Lest I mention, before I forget, so when you soak overnight, you would see some of the seeds floating. Those ones floating is they are likely to have poor germination. The ones that are settled are those ones you are really interested in. So be careful with the ones that are floating when you are pre-soaking. So one thing I failed to mention is the okra plant loves warmth. So you must place this bag where you have access to direct sunlight, at least 5 to 6 hours of sunlight daily. 5 to 6 hours of sunlight daily. All right, so now I have ewedu, the jute mallow. You can call it the Egyptian spinach. Okay, so for this takes about 2 months. Almost all these leafy vegetables, these leafy veggies we've been talking about, they are under 2 months. So this takes about 60 days to maturity. Days to maturity is about 60. But the good thing about this is you can start your harvest about 4 weeks. That's about 30 days. You can start harvesting about 30 days because you want them tender. You want them for some of us, we know the ewedu, the variety is quite slimy. This one, the variety is quite slimy, and some people use it as some people even blend it because it's rich in iron, it's rich in calcium. It's very good for your health. Okay, so what you do to this seed is you pre-soak. So you pre-soak in warm water. For some hours, and you can broadcast. But because of this presentation, we are using a sack bag. You can plant ewedu in a sack bag. So what you do is you create your hole slightly. And you take just a pinch. A pinch would probably take 2 to 3, and just put in that hole you've dug. And you cover slightly. When you're done, you cover it slightly. You cover lightly, and that is it. So one thing I should mention, when you're planting leafy veggies, I practice organic farming, and I would encourage you to do same, because organic is the way to go. This harmful pesticide, this harmful fertilizers, you need to be careful. About the inorganic stuffs, because of course, why should you be planting something that is not healthy for yourself? So for the pesticide, you can use your neem leaf extract. We call it, the local name is the dongoyaro leaf. So you just boil a little, and you take the water. You can mix 1 part to 1 part, and you can use that. So you can use your ash. To deter pests. You will just the wood ash. You will just you would scatter lightly around the plant. So one other thing you should take note is, for every time you harvest, which is usually like about 10 days interval, you'd apply your organic manure. And one thing you should note about organic manure is make sure that the organic manure you are using has been cured, has stayed. Don't use fresh manure. Make sure that you keep that fresh manure for some time. Let the excess nitrogen, get out of the manure, so it won't be too hot for your plant. So for every time you apply your manure, you just need to water it. So this is what you do after every harvest. So I harvest on the 30th day, I apply manure afterwards, and you water. So you water after you harvest. So that is it. As long as there are leaves on the ewedu leaf, it will keep producing. So you either harvest by cutting the stem, or you pull it wholly. You just pull the plant to conserve the nutrients in the soil, or you just cut it, you just cut the stem and you use as you desire. Now I have the F4 shoko right here. It's the same thing, it's the same family as the F4 tete. Don't forget, this is the Lagos spinach, and that's the F4 tete is the African spinach. They're still the same amaranth family. So the good thing about this is, as you can see right here, I have a nursery bed. This is where I just broadcast them. So all we've been doing so far is the drilling method. So we just make a slight hole. We just make a slight hole and we plant. But the good thing about the spinach, the F4, is you can have a nursery bed. So from this nursery bed, I can transplant. As you can see behind me, I have the F4 shoko in rows just behind me. So you take from this nursery bed and you transplant to the rows. But in this case where we have a sack bag, all you just need to do is you can either plant directly or you pre-soak. You plant directly, but because it's very tiny, this is very tiny, so you just put a pinch in one of the holes and you cover, and you expect your germination in 5 to 10 days. After the germination, it grows so fast that the harvest can be as little as 30 days. You can start harvesting this as early as 30 days. Now, a rule of thumb is the hole you drill. Don't forget, I told you that you either broadcast or you drill a hole. The hole you drill from the tip of your finger to the first line, so it must not be more than this. And when you are covering, you cover lightly with your soil, and don't forget to water afterwards. But the good thing about sack is it retains moisture. So for the early stages of the plant's life, you put it somewhere that it's not too hot, not in direct sunlight. Just put it somewhere that has some shade. Then after the germination, you can put this in direct sunlight, but don't forget to water. So you water at least 2 to 3 times in a week, depending on your temperature, depending on where you're situated on the face of the earth. So you water slightly, and anytime especially when the plant has gotten to the later part of its life, you perforate this sack. Just poke holes along the sack, along the bottom part of the sack, and you're good. You should be eating healthy in no time. Are we good? Okay. So don't forget about keeping this moist. You need to keep this moist. A rule of thumb is when you dip your hand in this soil, it must not come out wet. It must just be moist, and it must not be dry. So when it's dry, you know this thing needs water. And don't forget to put your soil amendment Don't forget to put your soil amendment after every harvest. Make sure you feed your plants. Feed your plants. They need nutrients to survive. Nutrients, water, sunlight. As long as you can fulfill those requirements, you will have a healthy plant for yourself and for your family. Okay, so I hope you've learned something today. Don't forget to start. That's the hardest part of it. Start. There's an adage that says you are what you eat. So you can start with any of these easy crops we've mentioned. In as little as 30 days, you can start harvesting, and you can start eating healthy. So I see you on the healthy side. Bye for now. Okay, so you can reach out for your potting mix, your seeds, the veggies, tomatoes, pepper, the efo we talked about, the okra we talked about, the ewedu we talked about, and start your farm right away.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, wherever you are, wherever your time zone is. And this is me saying, well done on what you're doing, well done on what you're building. And very great thank you to Coach B. Thank you for this great privilege to be a part of what you're building, which is so outstanding. I sincerely appreciate this. Thank you. And to everyone that would get to interact with this video as well, thank you for the attention you would put in. Thank you for your intention to get the best out of it, because we know that this is the beginning of new beginnings for us, so this is good. All right, so my name is Adekemi Adeoye, and I'm a farmer. Yeah, I am. I'm a zealous farmer, though. Yeah, definitely I get to do gardening as well, and that's exactly what we are going to dive into today. That is why we are having this conversation today, and we will be diving into what is being titled microfarming. And just as I was preparing for this, I remember the usual quote, this powerful quote of one of these great teachers that gets to interact with children in low-income communities, and that's Tunde Onokoya, that would always say that great things can start from small places. And that's exactly one thing that comes to mind when you think about microfarming. Because trust me, microfarming is about you standing that which is so substantial, significant, sufficient from that space that seems small. It seems so minute, it seems so not big, but however, something greater is going to come out of it. Do we see that? And there is actually one of my favorite quotes by one of my dear mentors that would always say that food should not be seasonal because hunger is not seasonal. So would always say food production should not be seasonal because hunger is not seasonal. And that's the truth, because food is what we all get to eat. Everybody will eat, irrespective of your race, irrespective of your age, irrespective of your culture, irrespective of your religion. Food is one thing that gets to unite us together. And that is why we must pay attention to it. Do we see that? And that's how we'll be having this good conversation today about microfarming. So what is microfarming? Just like I've said, that it's about you starting something big, something significant from somewhere small. So that's just it. It's that particular plot of land that you have at the back of your house. It's that particular small piece of land that you have and you've been thinking, what can I do with it? Now, this is the time for us to reason together and say, there are many things we can do with it. There are many things we can bring out of it. And that's how we'll be diving into microfarming. So simply put, microfarming would be about you putting into use that small place, that small piece that you have to ensure that you contribute your own quota to food production, to food security, to food sufficiency. Do we see that? So it's something that requires a collaborative effort, a collective effort. And I'm so happy that we are even having this conversation at this particular crucial time, where it seems like there is a need for us to really pay attention to that which has been paying attention to us. Yes. So I have here written in my slide, I have a very good quote here that says that when we want to do great things, they are not done by impulse, but however, they are done by small things brought together. So now this will make me talk about our first valid point that we need to consider as we dive into that backyard farming, that garden setup, that thing that we want to do to contribute to your culture, to food security and food production. It's the planning, the layout. Planning the layout. Yeah, I know this might sound quite simple, but however, it's very significant because everything you would get to build over time, after, before, during, is actually going to be dependent on how solid and how deeply rooted your planning is. And when I mean planning the layout, I'm talking about the fact that for the success of whatever you want to build, it must start by you considering some factors. And the first one will be the space you have here. Let's talk about that, the space you have. Now you already know the space you have. You already know what's the space you want to use the space for. But now can we talk about what the space can accommodate? What do you think the space can accommodate? Can it accommodate leafy vegetables? And when I mean leafy, I mean our shoko, tete, jute, for those that don't understand Yoruba, lettuce, yes. I mean kale, coily kale, and all those leafy grains that you put in. It could also be fruity, it could be bells, it could be tomatoes, depending on what you want to do. Then after considering the space, you think about sunlight. Yeah, because you understand that your crop must also have access to sunlight. And sunlight is very crucial for them manufacturing their own food that ensures that they grow well. Do you see? Do I understand also that there are technological advancements that could make you say that for sunlight, we could put UV light. But remember, we're talking about microfarming here. So this shows that even when you want to get to the point where you want to use technology to advance, however, starting at this phase, you must be able to put together what you have that is your advantage, what you have that you can use for free. And that's sunlight. It's for free. So you can get to use it. Do you see that? Then the next thing you will also think about now would be your soil quality. Yeah, you could decide to do soilless or you do soilful. Permit me to use that word, but you get what I mean when I say that you can decide to do soilful. So now what's your soil quality? I know the usual that would say would be our loam soil, and if you want to do soilless, you could go for rice soil. What do I mean by rice soil? That's a shaft from the grain of rice. Or you do cocoa peat. What is cocoa peat? Simply put, that particular brown outer part of coconut, whenever you get to take the part that is edible for you, that particular brown part can be smashed and processed into what we can now dissolve in water and we get to plant with it. Do you see that? So those are the things you put into consideration. So let me put it in 3 keywords for you, which would be you thinking about your planting, composting, and irrigation. Planting, composting, and irrigation. And what do I mean by these 3? This layout must be well played out. Where you want to plant. Remember where you want to plant is where we talked about your space, your access to sunlight, your soil quality. Now let's talk about your composting. Because many a times people think about where they want to plant without putting into consideration your composting site. And for you, you could call it your waste collection area. Because we understand that when you get to plant, no matter what, you would have what we regard as waste, which could be things you definitely see that they are not suitable for consumption, and you see the need to take them somewhere. However, we also understand that in what we are building, we are ensuring there is sustainability. And the 3 keywords I love to use to define sustainability would be profit, people, planet. Those keywords are actually what ensures that sustainability is key. Once you have something that ensures that people are being involved in the processes and they are safe as well as they are being involved and it's beneficial to people, ensures that the planet is being saved. This planet is ensured that the planet is not being exposed to risk or any hazard, then ensures that there is profit, then it's sustainable. Do we say that? So now we'll talk about your compost site, because I know that no matter what, you would have little waste that would be taken from the garden. Where do you want to put them? We don't just want to ensure that we still produce food, but at the same time we have wastage that we cannot give back into the loop. So having a compost is what ensures that you don't have a loop in what you're building. So everything gets to feed each other back. For instance, when you get to harvest and you have to terminate, or let's say pull out, uproot, let me use a simpler term now, you get to uproot what you planted because it has completed its cycle of production. The next question would be, what do you now want to achieve with it? Do we see that? Where do you want to keep it? You know that you may take it out for burning, but we would not advise that. Remember, this is micro farming and we're thinking about sustainability, and planet is part of it. And we know that bush burning or any form of burning at all is actually a means of exposing our environment to what is not so good. So now when you have your compost, it shows that you are planning for something that gets to collect your waste and ensures that that waste becomes another input for your next cycle. Do we get that? So you have your waste that is being collected for compost making. Make your compost, you take it back when you're about to start your next cycle, and it gets to fertilize your soil, and it enriches your soil quality, enhances your soil productivity, and you're good to go. Then the next thing we think about is, after considering your planting, we've talked about earlier, composting, then let's talk about your irrigation, your water source. This is equally very important, because you need to talk about where would you access water for your garden. Then at the same time, how can you eventually effectively manage water? Then when we're talking about your water source, it could be rain-fed, which means you would definitely depend on rain, while you could actually irrigate, which means with or without rain, your plants would have access to water, because you have decided to improvise and provide another means for your plant to get access to water. Do we get that? Then you can also do what we call rainwater harvesting. And it's actually a technology that is actually working run, and it's so very innovative, where you understand that, okay, if I know that I am in a particular zone where it seems like access to water is not very frequent, this might not be applicable to everybody, but I know even if you're in a place where there seems to be easy access to water, you could still play around having where you harvest your rainwater, so that even beyond the fact that you get to have more water go into the soil, and it's more than the water holding capacity of the soil, which can now lead to runoff and erosion. You can harvest the water, then gradually you start giving the water back to the plant in micro doses, so that the plant takes exactly what they need without getting being washed away because of the erosion. Do we see that? So those are the key things you must think about. Our planning layout, we start from your planting. Remember, under your planting, you have your spacing, you have your light, access to sunlight, you have your soil quality. Then we have composting. Composting becomes your waste collection area to ensure that everything you have as waste are not necessarily being overlooked and being dumped. However, they can become what you give back even to your garden. Then your irrigation system. Access to water, either rain-fed or irrigation that you get to give by yourself or make provision for. Do we get that? Then the next one would actually now talk about companion planting, and these are innovative ways of ensuring that what you plant can be beneficial to each other. So moving forward, I will be diving into innovative techniques that we can adopt in our micro farming. And the first one I will talk about now is companion planting. And what do I mean by companion planting? Companion planting simply means you get to plant something that serves as a very good benefit to the other plant. So it shows that they are somehow into that kind of symbiotic relationship. Do you see? And one example that I love to give for this majorly, because I know it's so common amidst us, is when we get to talk is when we get to have tomatoes, or let's say peppers and basil. I don't know if probably we've observed that our local farmers whenever they get to have their tomato farms, they also ensure that they have basi around it. I think basi would be efere in Yoruba, yes. And two things it does. Because basi has the scent in a way affects the flavor of the tomatoes or the pepper. It ensures that it has a good flavor, and most importantly, it keeps the pepper away from aphids. So these are literally pests that will come for the tomatoes or pepper, but the smell of basi around it doesn't make it comfortable for them to stay. So that means one of the innovative techniques that you can put into your micro farming would be companion planting. But now you can also now think about, okay, what do I have to plant that I can use in a way that will benefit the other? For some example too, you could decide to do carrots and onions together. I know for sure that when you have onions will repel against carrot rot. That is actually can work. Then there's something we can also do that will, it's actually more of like this elementary thing that you're being taught in school when we were being taught these nitrogen fixing plants, which are legumes. So you can also go with having your nitrogen fixing plants around while you get to plant your cereals in between. But now if you really want to go by vegetables, that's so good as well. We can have your shoko and have your tete, then you can have your basil not so far from them as well. That you can have meat if you want to go into herbs. So the meat as well will also help your shoko, tete, and all of that you have around because of the smell. And one good thing about mint is it grows very well. It grows voraciously, let me put it that way. And you can literally propagate it from any point. The stem, put it somewhere else, give it water for a few days, it's fine. And it keeps extending by itself. And it's actually serving a good purpose. So like that, you have your herbs, then you have your living vegetables doing well and interacting together. Companion planting. And the second I would love to talk about would be vertical farming. And I'm talking about vertical farming because I'm talking about space. Remember, the goal of micro farming is because of what? We're trying to dive into what we call urban agriculture. What is urban agriculture? Urban agriculture is the ability to ensure that the space that would have is actually being used in an innovative way to ensure food production to meet up with our increasing population. But trust me, our population is increasing, and it is increasing massively, let me put it that way. So that means we need to be able to think and say that beyond we depending on our farmers, which are definitely doing their work, because I'm one of them, what can I also do to ensure that what they are bringing and what I'm contributing, we are collaborating together to facilitate access to food? Do you see? And now when we talk about vertical farming, it can come in diverse ways. You could actually use bucket for that, where we have some kind of buckets that are even designed for such that you could stack in a way that even when it seems like you don't have enough space, because they are stacked vertically, the number of plants they would take would actually be more compared to if you have enough space to even keep them because of vertical farming. Then vertical farming, you can have wall farming. You're probably in a place where you have walls surrounding you. I recently embarked on a project in the secondary school, and it was wall farming we needed to construct because they don't necessarily have access to vertical farming buckets. So they felt like, oh, we have walls, what can we make out of it? And schools and having walls, especially these public secondary schools, they just have them, and it's majorly because they want to do security protection for these students. And I said, yeah, we can make something with the walls, and that was it. And we just got PET bottles. And remember that this is also about climate smart practices. These are PET bottles that are probably moving around, not really getting direction on what they should be used for. And they're being arranged, drilled into the wall. All we needed to do was to have a wooden structure standing on the wall first, then getting our Pepsi bottles being well divided into half, then ensures that we have a part where we drill it back to the wooden structure, and it was actually well arranged. And by the time we were done, we were having over 200 stands of vegetables standing, leafy vegetables to be precise, and they were hanging on the walls. So when there's rain, it's perfect, sunlight, perfect, and if you decide to use a watering can, it's very perfect as well. So that could be someone's case as well. Probably you have walls that are properly built and you feel like, oh, I could maximize them even if I don't have access to the buckets that could make me do vertical farming. You could do walls as well and arrange it in a vertical way or any way that seems to follow the design of the wall that you have. But however, remember that when it comes to wall farming, you don't get to grow every feeder's crops. What do I mean by every feeders? You don't get to grow crops that are very highly intensive. For example, you would not want to grow tomatoes, except you have a large capacity for the kind of container that gets to house the rooting system of the crop. So this is what I mean. Whenever you want to determine the structure that will anchor your plant or where you will plant what you have, always remember the rooting structure of your plant. Is it something that the root needs more space to enlarge? If it's something that does not need more space, then you will know the kind of container or material that you could use. For some persons, you could use sack, and the sack can actually be heaped in a way that is still vertical and can still serve the purpose. So that's been said. We started by talking about companion planting, and now we started by talking about the vertical farming, vertical planting, so that you ensure that even with the little space that you have, you're making something substantial out of it. Because the mandate for this is the Joseph mandate, and it is expected that we have the wisdom required to save now that it seems like we have plenty. Yeah, we do, because now we have access to plenty. Yes, that's the word. So now let us still apply the wisdom by the Spirit to ensure that we do what is expected to ensure the continuity of what we need so that we do not lack at all. Definitely. You will see that. And another innovative technique I would like to talk about too would be permaculture. I know this particular one is actually not quite new necessarily, but however, it's still quite new to some persons. And the reason is because I understand that many persons have actually probably walked around having a garden, but at the same time, not everybody have actually seen the need to put design into what they have. Designing, permaculture design. Because when you talk about permaculture has a design. And I'm talking about it necessarily because there could be somebody here which would have access or who would have access. So let's say some large portion of land that can actually accommodate more than just having a garden, and you're thinking, yeah, I could have poultry for my chicken. Yes, I have some goats, sheep that I would like to rear. Can I also put them? And you're wondering, how would everything still sit together and I will still call it a garden? Yes, there is a name for all of that. It is called permaculture garden. Yes. So permaculture garden is where we get to design with nature in view. We get to design with nature in view. That is what permaculture garden is all about. We get to design with nature in view. And for permaculture garden, though I understand that this is another class on its own, but I'm bringing it in because it could be a guide for someone who believes that they want to do a lot just beyond crop production. They want to dive into the animal aspect, and they're wondering, how can I integrate it? And I'm saying there is a design for such integration. It is called permaculture design. And permaculture design, we have it in 5 zones, from zone 0 to zone 5. Zone 0 is your house. So we acknowledge the fact that you are living in this particular compound, or you intend to live in there, but also you have land area that you want to maximize. So your zone 1 will be where you have access to your leafy vegetables, everything that you know you must visit frequently. In fact, your zone 1 can also house your poultry. And then we move to your zone 2. Zone 2 are also things that you get to interact with, but not frequently. So now you could have your poultry at the intercept of your zone 1 and zone 2. Remember, your zone 1 is also housing your vegetables. Then you have your cows, your sheep, your goats in your zone 2. You can also have some shrubs or fruit trees in your zone 2 leading to your zone 3. It's all about designing and at the same time ensuring that everything you have gives back to each other, so that you can take your poultry feed, your poultry waste rather, and they can serve as manure that you bring back to your plant. Remember we talked about it earlier that whenever you're having your planning layout, beyond your planting, which determines your plant, your spacing, access to sunlight, you always talk about your compost site, where you want to target your waste collection area. So now when you are integrating that, that is a part where all the waste you're probably having access to from the other components that you have in this compound, they bring them there and they're being decomposed and you give them back to the plant. And even from the plant you're growing, you can also grow plants that can serve as edibles for your cow, for your sheep, because you want to integrate. So I will not dive deeper into that, but I just wanted us to have a bit of it and also let us know that it is possible, it can be done. Yes, it is being done. Right here where I work in Celeste Farmland, we have our permaculture garden, and I'm actually the one in charge of that. We do our design, we plant in a way that it interacts, because one of the goals of permaculture also is to ensure that there is interaction. Just like what I explained earlier about companion planting, that can be practiced in your permaculture site. Your waste collection can be there, so that what you have as waste gets decomposed and you give it back to the earth, so that that becomes your manure for your next planting cycle. And in permaculture area, you can have where you get to harvest your rainwater. We call it a swale. It can be dug. You can ensure that you have a slopy place where you channel all the rainwater and they follow that particular direction to be kept in that place, where you could probably also have a pump that pumps the water out of that particular designated area and gives it back to the plants in case there is no longer rain. Do you see that? So we have innovative techniques of going around microfarming. That is it. And that's exactly what I want us to understand, that there are possibilities around microfarming, there are innovative techniques where we can get to make things work in microfarming. So it's something interesting that we can dive in. Fine, we can start small, it's not a problem. But however, there's possibility of scaling. Yes, we have that diverse possibilities that ensure that over time you get to scale and diversify. Yes. Okay, so we've talked about vertical farming, we've talked about permaculture principles, we've talked about companion planting. I'm saying all of this so that we would get to remember them and we can see how it's applicable to us as well. Then the next we are going to be talking about would be the farming opportunities in microfarming, because I understand that for a start, the goal might not be for profit. It could just be because you want to ensure that you have access to food. You want to ensure that you have access to feeding system that is quite reliable and accessible, which is very beautiful. But at the same time, I also want us to talk about how this is not just limited to small scale. Over time, we can upscale. There is something called upscale in business, where you get to upscale. Yes, so it's very much possible. And what ensures that we upscale is actually one thing I would like to establish. We're saying what we are doing as not just a random thing, but at the same time having a mindset that this is actually a business. Because either you do it to get money, or you do it to ensure that you have access to food that is safe, reliable, and accessible. It's actually a business. You're either in the business of making money, or you're in the business of ensuring that you stay healthy. So you're trading something for something. You're trading something for something, definitely. That's what I want us to understand. It's a game of trading something for something. It's either we trade it for money, or you get to trade it for both money, and also ensuring that you have access to good food, fresh veggies, which is also trading it for you having a good health. So it's still business. And because we have the understanding that it is business, then we would also have some approaches that we would put into practice. Like I would always love to say, I would rather say agribusiness than, say, agriculture. Yes. And I say this because whenever we hear the word agriculture, there is this part of what's the right word now? There is this part that you get to associate with agriculture that seems quite peasant. I'm trying to be careful of my words at the same time, but you get what I mean when you hear the word agriculture. And I think that's one of the things that is not even making agriculture attractive for young people to study in the university, though the narrative is gradually changing. Yes, because I currently work on a project with Mastercard Foundation, and we trained 1,000 youths quarterly. And we've been doing this since last year, January. This is our cohort 8. This is our 8,000 that we're training already. And these have been young minds from the age of 18 to 29. Did you see? And you will see them show up with a passion and also show up with that mix of saying, so agriculture can be more than the usual thing that we know. And we're always so quick to let them know that this is not agriculture. This is agribusiness, because we're in the business of agriculture. So we are not just necessarily growing, we are in the business of agriculture. So because we understand that it's a combination of both planting, reaping, sowing, it's also about ensuring that we have a business model that ensures that what we have planted, what we've grown is getting to the right audience, the targeted consumer, and we are getting that which is expected. Remember, I started off by telling us that sustainability for me is in 3 P's: the people, planet, profit. So profit is actually not out of it. And that's exactly where we are going to be having this conversation as well. That even in micro farming, even in what you want to do small, as you scale gradually, profit is not out of it. In fact, profit should not be out of it. Okay, so now the question would now be, what are the things you can leverage to ensure that you become gradually profitable monetarily? And the first one I will talk about is CSA. I tagged it CSA because I realized that from what I've been doing so far here, from the 1,000 we've been training quarterly, 1,000 every 3 months, I actually saw the power of community building. I saw the power of cluster network for farmers. And that's why I would say that my first leverage that I would tell everyone or anybody that wants to dive into agri that is profitable is to leverage CSA, that is community supported agriculture, community supported agribusiness, CSA. And this is what I mean by community supported agribusiness. I'm saying to you that it is not about what you do in isolation right now, but it is ability to ensure that you form a network or you form that symbiotic relationship with both yourself, what you're doing, and the people that seems related to what you're building. Let me break it down. Okay, now you're doing micro farming, and this is basically at the comfort of your own house, your backyard. But however, you reside in a community. And definitely your community will have a need. Every community will have a need. Why? Because wherever we have people, needs are inevitable. Yeah. Whenever we have people, needs are inevitable. So because we have people dwelling there, definitely needs will be there. So the next thing that makes what you're doing now a business is the ability to ensure that what can I do or how can I position what I'm doing to meet the need of my community. Yeah, so that's it. So now this is not about you going out to say that you're solving the problem utterly 100%. No, this is about you taking it steps upon steps, precept upon precepts, lines upon lines, to say that now that I'm in a community, what have I seen as a problem in this community that can gradually be solved because of how I've positioned my micro farm. Yeah. Because there will be that restaurant in your community and there will be this chef. Yeah, the chef would have access to farmers that gets to supply for them. But at the same time, there will be some days where the chef just wants to do something quite minimal and they don't want to order from their large sales, let me say wholesale farmer now, and they just want to outsource something that could be instant. Are you the person that will come to their head? Imagine there's always that part. Trust me, as much as we get to stock, let me take it home now. As much as you get to stock the house and ensure that everything you have lasts you for a month, for some persons it could be 3 months or 6 months, There are some things that gets to finish at some point, either probably due to demand that is quite pressing. And whenever you think of getting a very accessible and instant means of replacing it, there is someone that comes to your mind immediately, like, okay, even if it seems like I can't go to the market to buy it in bulk now, but I know someone I can gradually get some retail from, and the person is very reliable. That's exactly what I'm saying. That even with the ones you have in your area, the particular local restaurant you have in your area, the local supermarket you have in your area that seems to have that large brand that they get things from, can you be that brand they can also depend on in case they know that they need something instant, something very quick and accessible? Can that person be you? Fine, they understand that you're not going in large scale, but they also know that the small scale that you tend to have, it's actually accessible and reliable. So even if you don't get to give them every day, they will know that, oh, every Thursday, this particular person gets to have access to this. I know that this particular person gets to harvest their cucumbers every Thursday. Why can't you get from them? There's that suya man, yes, suya, in your area that you can easily house it and say, okay, what if I get to give you suya, cucumbers rather, every Thursday? Because I would always harvest every Thursday. Fine, I understand you're getting it at this price. I would give you at a little or a minimal price. Then you will get to pay me. But it's every Thursday. I will not do every day because you don't have the demand that can cater for every day. But they know every Thursday they get something from you. That's gradual. And the more you do that, the more you can upskill. And who knows, gradually you can start supplying them every day. That's a community. And another community I want us to look into would be a church. Yeah, it's a good community as well. A church is a community we can also leverage because everybody gets to gather on Sundays. Fine, if it is about every Sunday where you get to show up in church and everybody knows whenever you show up, you will always show up with this particular vegetable, then gradually people start adjusting their mindset to ensure that they get it from you. Because now you're not just going to leverage community, which is church, you're also going to leverage your relationship. Because majorly people buy because of relationship. For instance, there are some brands that people are quite loyal to than the other, and you realize that over time they've actually built a level of relationship with that brand. Because many a times what they are probably leaving behind to go for that particular brand is nothing compared to what they've even gotten from the brand they're leaving behind. But they will still ensure that they go that far because of what? There is something they built with that particular brand, leveraging relationship. So can you do that? Can you leverage relationship that you built? It could even be in the office. Yeah, it's gradual. It could be in the office, very gradual. People already know that, oh, every Friday, because you also know that every Friday, everybody, or let me say, every Friday, every woman in any office will definitely think about what they will cook for weekend. So there's always this weekend planning thing. And you can gradually position yourself to say, okay, I do spring onions. I've actually been doing that. So I know every Friday I take spring onions to the office. Everybody gets to buy. So in case you want to have your fried rice over the weekend, your jollof rice, I have onions available for you. They will patronize you. You will leverage on that community too and the relationship that you build. Can you see community supported agribusiness? That's it. And it's very dependable as much as you are reliable. Do you see that? Then gradually from what you still build out of that community support agribusiness, you can now have what I call the subscription base. You must have it because gradually you must not get to a point, because this is what will happen. By the time you start having people getting comfortable, getting some things from you a particular day, that means there would also be a part of you that would see the need to expand your supply so that you can meet up with their demand, because either you like it or not, your demand will gradually increase. So because you remember this is micro farming, this is something you're doing on a small scale that is gradually scaling, you have to introduce subscription base to it. And what will subscription base do to you? Two things. First one is it will ensure that you have customers that have actually given their money out, which you can trade with to ensure there is supply for their demand. This is what I mean. So when you have a subscription base that says, okay, if I will be supplying you throughout the month of April, this is a price you get to pay, then you will pay 30% upfront or 70% upfront, depending on your policy too. And by the time they give you the 70% upfront, they are so rest assured, because over time you beat that track record of reliability, they can rely on you that you will deliver. The 70% upfront that they pay you in money, it's something you can now leverage on to cater for your own enlargement and large supply that will cater for their increasing demand. Then the second thing it will do to you is to ensure that you have customers that are loyal, so that even if they have, let's say, another opportunity to buy somewhere else, because they have been committed, they would stay. Because there is commitment, they would stay. So now they are so eager to stay because they are committed to it and because you are also reliable. Do you see that? So everything starts from the community, but at the same time, you gradually evolve into subscription-based plan. Fine, you could be doing the one which I call the having to be identified with a weekly based plan, which is what you started with, telling them, okay, every Tuesday you have this, every Thursday you have this. But now you're gradually moving to subscription based, saying that you can pay ahead. There's actually a particular firm called Future Food. Now that's what they do necessarily. They ensure that they give you food that meets up with your nutritional demand. So they have your nutritionists that get to work with you, ensure that you have food that has actually been tailored for your whole nutritional demand. And this is subscription based, you pay ahead of time. You could subscribe for 3 months, 6 months. With that, they have enough cash flow to run what it ensures them to deliver. So it's more like you're running a chain of saying you give in, then you give out. That can actually be possible with micro farming. But will it start immediately? No. You will start by building a track record of what of your weekly based present to subscription based of people. You know, one thing I always teach to emerging agripreneurs that we have here is, when it comes to business and you want to scale your business, especially agribusiness, and even it's quite applicable to any kind of business, there are 4 levels of wealth creation. The first one starts by you starting out with your own money. Yeah, it's about you putting out your own money. You put in your money and you get to do it gradually, and that's exactly what we want to start with micro farming. It can be majorly your money, but at the same time, when people start seeing your result, they would want to invest in the result. Then you move from your own money to having access to people's money. That is where the subscription base comes in. Because now it's beyond your own money. It's using other people's money to run the business, but still ensure that you deliver. By the time you use people's money and it seems like you've actually been able to upscale as well, then you get to the point where you can start going for bank loans. And that is why whenever anybody wants to get loans from bank, they will always ask for your cash flow. Not because they really want to check how profitable only the business is, but at the same time, they want to be sure of how much comes in, how much goes out. But remember, you will have a cash flow that is quite robust, because when people get to pay you, not just only when they buy things, but they pay you ahead, you have enough money to also trade out and trade it. Then the last one would be when you now get to partner with governmental organizations, because over time you build track record even with banks. And that's why you see the likes of big brands. That is exactly what they do now. They have actually left the point of getting from banks. They now partner with governmental organizations as leverage for money. So every business must actually pass through that first scale in wealth creation. You will definitely have to pass through it. And that's exactly what I'm teaching, that we can gradually start introducing to our micro farming as well. Do we see that? Okay, so, and I understand that as we're starting out, don't feel overwhelmed. Don't ever feel like this is a lot. No, even if it seems like the only thing you want to do right now is just to produce for yourself and your family. Yes, You are doing so well. It's a lot and it's amazing. And please, I celebrate you for that. I celebrate you for that. It's a lot. And also, let me add that whenever you get to a point where you feel like you need a guide, yes, because one thing about microfarming also is there would be a need for you to fill your knowledge gap. You would definitely probably have some questions you want to ask, access to input that you need. Definitely, I'm here to guide you. So please, you can feel free to reach out whenever you see the need for the guide on how to do things and expect and get your expected result. Yes. So I think I would love to wrap up from this end so that we can have our time to, digest it, ingest it, and see what is applicable to us that we can gradually start taking in. But I don't want us to forget everything we've discussed, so permit me to have a very quick recap that in everything you want to do, beginning with your layout, your plant layout, it talks about your planting, your composting, your irrigation. They're talking about the techniques you can use. You can talk about your companion planting, your vertical farming, and permaculture, which ensures that you can integrate more than crop production in a way that follows a design that is very in with nature, that works with nature, that doesn't work against nature. Then now we moved by talking about how you can very well monetize what you're doing and opportunities that are currently in micro farming, but that requires you taking steps by step. But you need to leverage community supported agribusiness. Do not forget that. Do not forget that. Do not forget that. Okay, so thank you for your time. It's so good having to do this with us. Thank you. I would like to stop here so that we can have a time to, get through with everything. And always remember, like I said earlier, if you need access to anything and you need guide to anything on your journey of microfarming, just know that I'm your go-to farmer to reach out to. And please, once again, let's celebrate Coach B for this, because this is actually what we need at this phase, especially the phase where we are in, and it seems like things are not easily accessible. It seems like many things are defining the face of our nation. And remember that we must have a nation where food does not determine who is poor and who is rich. Yeah, we must get to that point in Nigeria that it is not about food that determines your status. Food should be easily accessible. And this is us also playing our quota. So please, I celebrate us once again. And I want to end with this quote that I love to say, that we may not all be farmers, but we can all be food heroes. And I celebrate the role you're about to start playing now, and the one you started, and the one you would still play. Once again, thank you so much for having me. It's been a very long ride, and I've actually been enjoying it myself. Thank you, Amadikemi Adeyi, once again, and please do enjoy yourself and enjoy your farming system as well. Thank you.
Hello there. I am so certain that this has been such a tremendous blessing to you. You have learned a lot today. We have learned a lot today. And I want to encourage you to please, the best way that you can pay us for all of this knowledge is to actually use it, is to utilize it, is to make good use of it and let it be a return on investment when we see your farm thriving. I want to give thanks and to appreciate everyone who has taught us today. I want to say thank you for sharing from your wealth of knowledge. Thank you, Reverend Mrs. R.O. Adebayo. Thank you for modeling what it means to be a Proverbs 31 woman. The Lord will continue to bless and to increase you. We love you, everyone. Please type, we love you, we love you, we love you, Mom. All right. Thank you so much, Farmer Sam. We learned a lot. And just even watching you as you were, showing us what to do with the background of your farm, showing, I was like, this is possible, this is doable. And I know that even from this class, you will be able to teach us many more things. And so everyone, we are going to share his details. We're going to share Farmer Sam's detail. I'm going to share Adekemi, the queen of agribusiness. We are going to share both their details. And feel free to reach them We know specifics of what you can get, what you can learn from each of them. Feel free to reach them. If you want to learn the poultry business, definitely reach out to Farmer Sam. If you want to learn how to farm extensively, reach out to him. If you want to buy your potting soil, remember he taught us that potting soils are different from the normal soil. If you want to buy your potting soil, do reach out to him. If you want to buy your seeds in large quantities, reach out to Farmer Sam. He's got you, okay? And of course, to our queen of agriculture, our queen of agribusiness, she motivates me. When I read everything that she does, I'm like, wow, this is so amazing. How can one person do all of this and have achieved all of this? And it is such a joy to have been able to benefit from the wealth of your knowledge. And, we just pray that God will continue to bless and increase you, and your sphere will continue to expand. Your global sphere will continue to expand into the nations of the world. So, people. Say, I know, type, I know, yes, I know. You know that if you want to unlock the secrets to thriving in your climate smart agribusiness, you know she's the one you need to go to. You know that if you want to turn your business into that tech enabled powerhouse, she's the woman for you. And of course, when you want to launch from being just my table, farm to table, to let's make this a business, then you should be reaching out, okay? And we are here for you, the Prophetic Seers Tribe, the Joseph Mandate Project. We're committed to you. If we don't have your email address, please make sure to send us your email address. You may need to fill the form, even though, that's how we get your email address. So we'll put the form link in this chat box, and you can send in your questions. We'll do Q&A, and we'll send in all your answers as much as we can. And we're committed to you. We're committed to this process. And we want to wish you all the best in your endeavors. We want to say thank you to the Almighty God for this idea, from idea to materializing, and for every life that has been impacted today. We are grateful to God. I want to give a huge shout out to the cohort 2 of the Prophetic Seers Tribe. You guys rock, and I cannot wait to be in the room next week for your graduation ceremony. You did this. You are doing it. You're making an impact for the Lord, for kingdom. You are doing it. You did it. And as we've done this one, even in the individual assignments that He's handed over to you, you go be great. You go make impact. You go influence lives positively for kingdom. Let the world be a better place because you are in it. So I say, well done to the super organizers. Well done to the, everyone on the team. Well done to the participants. And next week, make it a date with us. Activate 4.0 is happening. And we're going to send you the link, and join us for a time of prophetic activation, a time of the word impartation, a time of worship, and just basking in the presence of our Father and hearing from Him for decades to come. Our activation sessions, they will always, always usher us into the next. And so we invite you to join us, okay? If you're not following us yet on social media, we welcome you. We invite you to follow us. The handle is prophetic.seer. And we love you. We celebrate you. I need to get out of your faces. It is time. It's been such an amazing time today. Go practice everything you have learned today. And if you want to post about it, then you want to tag or hashtag the Joseph Mandate. Thank you, everyone. The Lord bless you.